Hello everybody and welcome to Sophisticakes by Mary. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this frilled or fringed wafer paper cake. And I also am going to show you how I made these peony inspired wafer paper flowers. So that sounds interesting. Stick around, we'll get right to it. We're going to go ahead and start with the flowers because those will need to set up while we're doing the rest of the cake just so that they hold their shape a little bit better. The thing I like about one of the things I like about wafer paper flowers is that they are ready to use more quickly than gum paste. They can be ready to be used within an hour as opposed to having to set up overnight, possibly 2 nights as you have with gum paste. I love gum paste too, but I'm just really liking these wafer paper flowers for ease and quickness, really. So this is 0 grade wafer paper that I'm working with here, and I am just cutting them into strips. I want to do 3 different sized petals. So I'm just cutting them into strips, and you can cut quite a few petals at one time by stacking up your wafer paper together. Well, these will be my medium-sized petals, and I'm just cutting them a little bit larger than the small ones. And typically for a flower, you want to stick with odd numbered, and this will be my larger ones here, odd numbered petals. Like your inner layer have 3 petals and then go to 5 and then go to 7 or 9 towards the outside edge. Really kind of go by the way it's working as you're assembling it, how it's looking. But that's kind of the general rule of thumb here. And I'm just cutting out a general shape of a petal and leaving more of a scalloped edge on the outside edge of the petals, which will give it more of the peony type look. Now, you could say these are edible, but honestly, they're not 100% edible because the center I'm using styrofoam balls, and I am just inserting a toothpick with some hot glue. Now, just make sure that you tell your client that these are not 100% edible. Now, this is just wafer paper conditioner, and I added some pink gel food coloring to it. And this is so easy, guys. I'm just dipping them into the colored conditioner, and just draping them over circular or oval-shaped silicone molds that I have. I have 3 different sizes, 3 different sizes and a couple different shapes. I'm just using what I have. You could use all the same if you want, but I find it doesn't really matter. As long as you have that curvature in your petal, that's what really matters. And the different sizes, I would say, are important too. But the shape of the silicone, as long as it's curved, it's fine. And these will just conform to the shape of the silicone molds, and they'll be really easy to remove once they are dried. And all I'm doing is I am just using some, just brushing on some extra to get them to form to the shape a little bit quicker. But over time, they will anyways. And then I am just forming the bud by using some petals, dipping the tips in the conditioner, and then just using my brush to get them saturated around the outside, the rest of the ball there. I'm layering them up to get more of the center of a peony type look. And there you can see how that looks. And I just set these in front of a fan for about an hour. Really, honestly, is about all it took. And then they just release so quickly from these silicone molds. See, if you were to do gum paste, which if you like to, that's fine, and I will continue to use gum paste, but this would take you a couple of days to get this ready. This is so much faster. So I'm showing you that I have the really 4 different shapes or size of petals. And I'm just using a little bit of wafer paper glue. I will put a link in the description box of this video on the difference between wafer paper glue and wafer paper conditioner. I get asked that a lot. But I'm using some wafer paper glue to attach them to the styrofoam ball. Just add some of the glue to the very bottom corner of the petal. You don't need to soak the whole thing, or you're gonna get it's all gonna melt together if you do that. And I love that these petals are flexible. Since you're using the conditioner, that leaves your petals more flexible when they dry. And there's another center. I used 2 small ones, styrofoam balls, and 2 large ones and 1 small one, I believe, because I wanted 3 different sized flowers. Now, if you want to, you can take the petals, some of them, and the very last row of petals, or just for a couple of them, maybe 3 of them, attach them upside down. So you kind of get the look of a very open peony. I kind of wish I'd done that, but that's okay. These still were pretty. And I am just adding a little bit more to the edge. A little bit more of that wafer paper conditioner to the tips of the petals, because that will melt them just a little bit. Don't oversaturate these. It'll melt them just enough to give them a little bit more realness to the tips. It's going to kind of soften them a little bit, give them a little bit more rough look. Now this is double thickness wafer paper that I'm using to make my wrap. I'm just cutting it. I just attached the 2 pieces together using some wafer paper glue, and I am just measuring or cutting out the height and the width that I need to wrap around my cake. And I am cutting strips. These are 1.5 inches wide. You can make them however wide you want. And I'm just cut, we'll just say 1,000 of them. No, I don't actually know. I think it was 4 sheets, maybe 7 sheets. I can't remember. 4 to 7 sheets of wafer paper. Gosh, I wish I could say 100%. I'm not sure, but just enough to make sure that you get the whole thing covered. You can kind of eyeball it. And I'm just using those pinking shears just to kind of do cut slits all the way down, about 1/8 of an inch apart. You could use some fringe cutters. Fabric fringe cutters would make this a lot faster, but I didn't want to spend $15 on a tool that I would use maybe once, just for the demonstration purposes. So I just took the time to do that. If you stack them up 3 to 5 thick and cut them all at the same time, it cuts your time way down. This took me about 1 hour tops to cut the fringe. And then I'm using some wafer paper glue again to just attach them to the panel, the flat piece. And you can see it warps it just a little bit, but not terribly bad. Just don't oversaturate it. And then I cut off the extra off the bottom so that it would be flush against the bottom. And then for the top, I just kind of used these pinking shears and just kind of cut them all off individually, because I wanted them to kind of stick up above the edge of the cake a little bit. You could do it flush if you want, but I wanted that rougher edge on the top. And there you can see it all ready to be attached. And I already covered my cake in pink fondant. I thought you might be able to see through the wafer paper a little bit, so I didn't mind a little pink to be seen through, which turns out you couldn't see through it because of the double thick wafer paper that I used as the wrap, and then adding the 0 grade to it, you couldn't see through it. So that's fine, whatever, doesn't matter. But I just used some piping gel brushed onto the fondant to attach the wafer paper wrap to. Now I'm just pushing it against the cake to make sure that it is stuck all the way around. Now if you need to, if it doesn't want to stick all the way down in the back, just go ahead and make some of those floral hooks like I have shown you in the past. Just make a U shape out of some floral wire and kind of use it as like a hairpin. And there again, just make sure that your customer knows that there is some wire, floral wire in the back. And then I just filled in with some extra pieces of wafer paper that were already cut and fringed, just to fill in the gap there. And then I'm just attaching my flowers. Now I decided that I wanted that last one, that top one, to be a little taller. So I just added some, I wish I had it better in frame there, but I added some wire, some floral wire to it, and wrapped it in some floral tape just to add a little bit more height to it. And just go ahead and stick that into the fondant. And since these are somewhat flexible, another thing I like about them compared to the gum paste is the petals are flexible, like I mentioned earlier. So you can place them closer together and not worry about breaking the petals like you have with gum paste. They're just closer to real flower petals that you can stick them closer together, and I just really like that. So there you go, guys. My fringed or frilled wafer paper wrap cake with some wafer paper peony inspired flowers. I hope you liked it, and I hope you give it a go. And if you do, send me some links on Instagram. Want to see your work? I love to see it all. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.